Greetings to all of you. I am Preeti Dhawan, back again with yet another set of submissions. It actually gives me immense joy to be part of an audience, virtual one, that is geared towards learning about social and interpersonal skills. And this phenomena called learning leads to change. And it is this very change that breeds development, and a sustained period of development unfolds into evolution. And yes, we all wish to evolve, and especially we who are disseminating knowledge, who are receiving knowledge. This is one of the mediums where it goes as a one-way process. But let me assure you and ensure you that I have enjoyed putting it together, and I hope you enjoy as much when you receive it. Please remember the rule. You need to contextualize it, and please come up with questions, queries, thoughts, probes, and nudge yourself towards exploring more on these dimensions. All of you have enrolled for this FDP. Actually, you and me, because we wish to know more and we wish to expand our current knowledge. We constantly strive to facilitate forums for argumentative engagement. We wish to instill a keen awareness of and considered responsiveness to the multi-layered contextual situation in a freely explorative academic paradigm. One such academic space is the one that you and me are sharing here today. In order to achieve these, we need to be well equipped. So what are the tools required by a classroom practitioner? That's another word that I've used for teachers to reach these heights. To begin with, we need to believe in the fact that we, the teachers, are responsible for the weather and climate of our classrooms. You know, we are all aware of the facets of a typical classroom. Why I am taking you to the classroom and social personal skills are being related just to the classroom is an example that I have chosen to present my case before you. You can look at the classroom to begin with in order to expand further your social skills and your interpersonal sets of techniques that each one of us have. There are too many students that we have in our class. There is abundance of course to cover in a limited period of time, and look at the kind of responsibility that has just been bestowed on each one of us. We need to take online classes. We are also performing many other duties parallelly, working from and teaching from home. We need to look for spaces that are quiet. Everyone is working around. There are aspects that are a reality. There is one more ground reality, which is from the example that I gave you about the classroom, that each and every student in our class, and you can look at it from the people around, each and every person is an individual who has unique qualities and is endowed with distinctive potentials. Each and every individual has unique qualities and is endowed with distinctive potentials. From the moment of conception throughout life, a person's growth is constituted by the influence of others, beginning with the quality of prenatal care and continuing in the variety of social influences that guide in developing our thoughts, in developing our emotions, and then constructing our personality. We are all aware of this. Nothing new, and all of it is known to us. What is less known or ignored is the fact that emotions, a topic that has been dealt earlier and is of immense importance, contribute to the unique transactions between the individual and the social world, thereby developing a self that constitutes the prism through which these transactions are internalized into emergent personality. We are looking at interaction between us and the other, social and interpersonal skills. Teachers are often expected to reach unattainable goals with inadequate tools. For a daily climate of the classroom, I'm looking at a typical real classroom, the teacher needs some quick psychological skills, more so now during this particular set of virtual interactions that we are all engaging with. They need specific skills for dealing effectively and humanely with minute-to-minute happenings, the small irritations, the daily conflicts, the sudden crisis. At times, there is internet connectivity issue. At times, we don't know whether the student online has dropped off purposefully or you know why. There are many situations that call for helpful and realistic reactions. A teacher's response has crucial consequences. This is where I begin my course of knowledge. We all know what a student needs. We know it by heart. They need to be accepted, respected, liked, and trusted. They also need to be encouraged, supported, activated, and amused. They need too much. All I lack is Solomon's wisdom, Freud's insight, Einstein's knowledge, and Florence Nightingale's dedication. Every teacher, as I said, the example that I've taken is of a classroom, but please look at every teacher each time that I say you can look at it as every individual, because social and interpersonal skills are required at all times by everyone. And we all deserve effective tools and skills. Some of us who are in this profession lose faith and give up hope. Others clamor for reform. The more radical seek to change systems in mainstream. Meanwhile, life in our classroom and the world outside marches on. For us, there are students to teach, researchers to explore, thoughts that are there on delayed promotions, ad hoc appointments for some of us, and many more of such worries. The recent spate of promotions also has come up. They all make demand on teachers' time and energy. How do we stand tall emotionally with dignity in this turmoil poses a very big question. Teachers often ask similar questions. How can I survive until the system changes? What can I do today to improve my social skills to stimulate the life around me, maybe in my classroom as well? The miracle is that this impossible task is accomplished. Each one of us deserves effective tools and skills. What are these techniques? And I will be presenting them to you. Can we get these techniques from a PhD degree that we all have or the NET exam that we have cleared? Does it provide us with strategies to combat the self? Can psychology provide them? Can therapeutic concepts be translated into specific educational practices? Let us explore answers to all of these. How many of us sitting here have opted for this teaching profession by choice? You could raise your hands wherever you are. I mean, how many have opted for this occupation? I call it a passion. As has been heard and seen, most of the times, girls are told by their parents to go in for teaching since it will blend well with their future scenario. True or false? We don't know. Accepting the fact that this is or may not be our first preference, or we have opted for it. Can we now absorb this thought and move ahead? That is, can we now, as knowledge imparting beings, give our best into this social space that we have, or whichever role that we occupy, and therefore create interpersonal harmony? You know, by necessity, most of us deliver much more. We have to respond very quickly and appropriately to many of the social and emotional needs around us, with our family, outside our family. And where do we get these strategies from? Most of the times, we draw from instinct more than anything else. Before we go on to the strategies, there is a story that is told about a philosopher who was crossing a big river on a small boat. Most of you must be knowing this story, but nonetheless. The philosopher asked the boatman, "Do you know philosophy?" "I can't say I do," answered the man. "Ha, you've lost 1/3 of your life," said the philosopher. He went ahead and he asked, "Do you know any literature?" The boatman replied, "I can't say I do." "Oh, you've lost 2/3 of your life," proclaimed the philosopher. At that moment, the boat hit a rock and started sinking. The boatman quickly asked, "Do you know how to swim?" "No," replied the philosopher. "Then you've lost your entire life," said the boatman. When the crucial problems appear, philosophies disappear. To a man in a sinking boat, theory is irrelevant. Either he knows how to swim or he drowns. In the midst of a crisis, all the books in the libraries are of no help. All the lectures and all the courses are of little value. I hope my lecture doesn't come under that value. I hope it rises and shines, because at that moment of truth, only skill saves. I will be presenting you a skill set. What counts in education are attitudes expressed in skills. The attitudes that count is known to everyone. In fact, most of us, and especially teachers, we are tired of hearing about these attitudes again and again at every conference, every seminar. And I'm also presenting before you some well-researched and experientially benefited skills. And as I said, I hope each one of you will use them effectively. The reality is we need to challenge our assumptions. In our social hemisphere, we need to use interpersonal skills, and these skills, we know them. Some are effective, some are ineffective. They may be successful in the academic spheres and personal goals, but the personal and academic needs are intricately related for everyone. And empirical data has shown that young adults and students in particular want teachers who are respectful, warm, friendly and understanding, and who genuinely care about them. These teacher qualities enhances students' learning. We have also conducted many researches around it in our psychology department, and we too have come up with the same set of findings. Unfortunately, it is often that we make inaccurate judgments and ineffectively communicate with those who have different values than our own. It is difficult to challenge our assumptions. So, the first rule is we all want to think that we are impartial, we are unbiased, and we are objective with our students as well as with people around. We think we are so very rational, even. We are not. None of us are. We do have our sets of biases, prejudices that have crept into our thoughts in a manner in which that they have now blended. The interesting part is to be an effective helper to anyone, we must always challenge our assumptions. Don't assume. Hear them. Interestingly, it takes no longer to hear effectively than to listen ineffectively. Responding effectively to people who are impulsive will put them at ease and help them to adjust better around, even in classrooms. Avoiding the assumption that students are deliberately disruptive or they are deliberately, intentionally rude, we make them become so. People perform better when they feel that they are understood. Ample researchers have shown that students who perform better in class are the ones where their teachers have understood them and have helped them. Helping students to clarify their problems and move to solutions will benefit the student directly and improve the learning environment as a result of healthier learners. We need to start off with our skill training program.